in Investing 101, when a child grows up and leaves the nest, it's time to reevaluate your retirement nest egg. Jim Uren, a financial planner with Phase 3 Advisory Services, is here. Thanks for being with us. And what should parents do?
Yeah, so the first issue you really need to think through is insurance. So your child is allowed typically to be on your own insurance through their age 25. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best option. If your child's off to college or maybe getting their own job, there may be plans available through either the school or their job that are either cheaper, or in some cases, your plan's doctors may not be in the state in which your child is. So you want to take a look at that and see which plan still makes the most sense for your child. And the big thing you want to remember too is if your child does go on another plan, make sure you take your child off of your insurance so you can save that money and use it for something else. So that's the first thing you want to look at in terms of once your kid gets old enough to leave.
Should parents be concerned about healthcare issues when a student leaves the house?
Yeah, this is a big problem in some cases. If there's an emergency, let's say your child's off to school or off in another state in their first job, you might get a call that they're in the hospital and you can't reach them. They may not be allowed, either the school or the hospital, to give you any information. You don't know if this is serious or not serious. And so there's some steps you need to take to make sure you're ready. One is just signing what's called a HIPAA release form. Now, this does vary by state, but it's a good form to have in place that your child signs so that you can get information from, again, the hospital or the school. The other thing you want to have in place, and this is really true of anybody, but we don't think about it for our kids, but is a power of attorney, one for healthcare, one for finances. This way, if your child is having a health issue and they're unable to make decisions on their own, you as the parent of the adult child can step in and make those decisions and or possibly help them on the financial side to make sure that you can access their bills and their accounts to make sure everything is paid. And the third thing we want in place is what's called a living will. Again, everyone should have it, but we don't think about it for adult kids. And this is just something that it's instructions that your child wants followed if for some reason there is an end of life issue. We like to recommend a nonprofit organization that's nationwide called the 5 Wishes Foundation. It's 5wishes.org. You can get a very inexpensive document there called the 5 Wishes that is recognized in most states, and it's a very inexpensive way to get that in place. And of course, always we encourage you to consult with your local attorney, healthcare providers in college, because these rules vary by institution and by state. But these are things that we often forget because there are children. But once an emergency happens, we want to make sure that we have these documents in place ready to go.
What about from a tax standpoint? Certainly there have to be changes there.
So some of the common changes we see is that if your child's off to school, you may be eligible for some college tax credits or deductions, and that can be a big benefit to you. On the flip side, maybe your kid's done with school and now you're no longer able to claim them as a dependent. Your tax bill may now be going up and you may need to take appropriate action. And of course, the other big benefit is it's not uncommon in these empty nest years between when your kids move out and when the time you retire, that sometimes because you're not paying for all their stuff, you can have an excess cash flow. And it can be a great time in which to really boost your retirement savings and kind of play a little catch up to make sure you're ready to go when you retire.
And finally, Jim, a good time to do some estate planning?
Once they're an adult, it's a great time to review your estate planning documents because everything was put in place with the assumption your child was still a minor child. And so it may be time that you're ready for your child to step in a role such as being the executor of your will, or perhaps being now your power of attorney for healthcare or finances. Or in some cases, maybe they've got significantly younger siblings and now they would be your preference for them to be the guardian should something happen to you. These are all things that they can now take on in roles in your personal estate plan. But of course, it's important to talk to that child, have a good discussion with them, and also, of course, to consult your attorney to make sure all your documents are in place, ready to go.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.